mean,
Oh, hold on
This
one
meeting-
second. Hold on one second, Cynthia. All right, today is Wednesday, February 12th. This is the International Outreach Think Tank Group. And I'm going to give the floor over to Cynthia Pinkston to read the Bivens Declaration.
this meeting is private to members and those invited to attend. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all false allegations and conflicts, is there anyone in attendance in today's meeting that's a member or an agent of any law enforcement agency, any public agency, any federal, state, city, county, or township agency present? And is there anyone here under false pretenses, anyone working for a foreign federal government, including the territorial United States or the municipal United States? Anyone being paid or coerced to be here? You must fully disclose your presence and your purpose and or leave the call or the premises. Anyone who's a capital U dot capital S dot capital C citizen without any intention of correcting your lawful status, you must state so now. If you show up as a federal witness, you are discredited for failure to disclose. Are there any responses to the Bivens decision? Are there any responses to the Bivens decision? Are there any responses to the Bivens decision? Not hearing any responses, I'd like to express that you not share private email communication without permission, and I yield.
Thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate that. All right, and I'm going to start us off with a prayer tonight. If you all would just bow your heads. Dear Almighty Creator, thank you for gathering us together here tonight. We seek your blessings upon our discussions tonight. Grant us the wisdom to engage in meaningful conversations that lead to productive outcomes. May our words be filled with grace and our ideas be fruitful. In Yeshua's name we pray this. So be it.
So be it.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and give the floor over to Luis. So Luis, and if anybody by any chance should see Anna pop in tonight, just give a holler. But we're going to go ahead and review the project that I believe phase 1 and phase 2, correct, Luis?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, okay, Tammy?
Yes, go for it.
Battery 60%. Connected to.
Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Now I put 2 documents in the chat that I'm going to be referring to. One of them is my notes that I'm going to start here with. But since she mentioned about doing the overview of phase 1 and 2, I thought I probably will just put this in here now. If you go to our 1776 Union YouTube channel, the phase 1, phase 2 overview is this video right here. You're going to have to watch that video there. And I go through all of the components to phase 1 and phase 2 and the how to purchase the postcards and all those types of things. The county tours is in this particular video. That's why that one was created. So be sure to go over that to review what phase 1 and phase 2 actually entails. I'm going to get in a little bit more of that here in right now. So let me open up my little notes here. Now, also put in the chat the questions that I was preparing to ask Anna today, at least some of the questions, and then an outline of all the components to all the 6 phases that I wanted to highlight with her and ask about strategies and things like that. So I went ahead and put that in the chat. So you all have a heads up of what that conversation was going to look like. But what I'm thinking of doing is going ahead and make questions out of all of those highlights and actually sending it to her, because I don't want to wait a whole nother month. And we're going to see if we can get some conversation going and some clarity going, because I know Tammy is anxious and she's like, we need to get started. And yes, we do. I am anxious myself. But like I've been saying, we haven't been wasting time because the project is just getting better and better and more developed as we go. So we haven't been stopping, but we do need to know we're on the right track, and we need some approval so we can get out there and do what we got to do. So those are the questions there I put in the chat. Of course, they may change between now and the time I send them to Anna, but that's what I'm thinking of that I'm going to do with those questions right now if she can't make it here today. So let me go over some of the updates I have to tell you. As far as the I'm going to be going over our website here, because when we launched, this is the whole focus of where all the traffic is going to be driven to. So let me go over some points about the website. I did make some updates. Now, as far as this video go, we've been working on the voiceover. Margaret is working on the voiceover. Is Margaret here today from Wyoming? I sent out a message to her yesterday to see where she was with it. Yes, Tammy.
Thanks, Louise. I just want to cut in here for a second before you go on. So two things. I wanted to make sure that if anybody else has questions in regards to anything with the project that you feel we need to get clarity from Anna, also add your questions into the chat or write them down, jot them down, and you can send them to me. I'll put my email address in the chat as well. You can send them to me and I can compile everything so that we are prepared. You know, like Louise said, she's going to send the questions to Anna so that we don't have to wait a whole month. And then the second thing I wanted to say, oh, shoot, it went right out. What were you just talking about?
Margaret on Wyoming and the video voiceover.
Oh, I think what I wanted to say was that this is also because we have, I believe we have a few people, I know we have Darren from Terra Australis, and you know, how we can implement this for them. Phase 1 and 2 specifically is to get postcards out and to schedule your county tours. And so, you know, I just wanted to put that out there so that everybody is aware of that. Okay, in case they didn't know the phase 1 and phase 2. And I yield. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, yes, put your questions in there so we can all compile it together so we don't bombard Anna too much. Sorry, but we're gonna have to bombard her with some questions so we can get some more direction so we can get going. So more updates is this video here, which we're going to do a voiceover on it. Margaret is still working on it. I haven't heard back from her since yesterday when I just tried to get an update from her so I can let you all know. But she told me about a week ago that she should be working on it this week. If the voiceover isn't ready when Anna says yes, you can go ahead and launch phase 1 and 2. I'm going to launch it without the voiceover and just add it whenever it's ready. Now you can also see on this page here, let me make sure I don't miss anything. Hold on a minute. You can also see on this page, yeah, I want to make sure I don't miss anything because I want to make sure I get these updates right. At the top, I've added 4 links. I had an idea to add these links in relationship to Anna stating that we have made our claim in all 3 jurisdictions. Unlike any other group out there, we are the last man standing. And I put that that video of where she says that is under what does political status mean? This video right here, she's explaining how in all 3 jurisdictions, we have made the superior claim. Yes, Tammy?
Sorry, Louise. This was actually what I wanted to bring up before, and I, you know, had a brain fart on it. So it finally came in. That happens. But anyway, I had somebody bring to my attention, there seems to be, I think, a misconception with the claim your inheritance. Okay, so this particular person thought that by the name of the website, claimyourinheritance.info, that we were putting our focus mainly on the money or the prepaid credit. And so I wanted to make this very clear, and I said this to them when I was talking to them, and they brought that to my attention, is that this is not just about the prepaid credit. This is about our land. This is about our natural resources. This is about the state trusts. This is all of our assets. And so it's not just about the prepaid credit. And so I wanted to make that clear to everybody. And Luis, if you want to expand on that a little bit or add anything, feel free, but I just wanted to point that out. And that's all. I yield.
Thank you, Tammy. Well, yeah, on that, I'll expand on it. So let's start with this. Well, let me move to this. The postcard. The postcard, well, I shouldn't say postcard anymore because it's going to be distributed in different types of ways. The International Public Notice. The International Public Notice is what launches the whole project. In the International Public Notice, these are the words that were chosen. They've changed a little bit, but in here, it says, here where it says, they have substituted their corporations for your lawful American government for 160 years. In so doing, they stole your identity, your credit, your gold, and your land assets. That's your inheritance. This is what you're claiming back. So the credit, the gold, all of that is part of your inheritance. And down here at the bottom, it says to claim the birthright and financial assets that you are owed, contact your state assembly to correct your political status. None of that inheritance comes to you until you claim your political status back as an American. So this is your inheritance as an American. Now, I have no problem emphasizing the bank or the credit or the gold personally, because from my perspective, the whole reason why we're in slavery has to do with the money. If there was no benefit for them, financial benefit for them to put us all in the slavery condition, then they wouldn't regard it as important either. But it is important, it is significant. And another reason why I don't have a problem with it, and why I think it's one of the most important things to highlight, is because a people cannot be free if they cannot control their money. If we don't have the control of our money, we cannot be free. And we're talking about our freedom and our sovereignty. There is no sovereignty if you cannot control your money. 20 years ago, when I was talking about, and my community was talking about getting away from the U.S. corporation and all that, we still understood, yeah, we can do acceptance for value and do our promissory notes and everything like that. But what are we going to do day to day if they still controlling the dollar? We're still at their beck and call. So it's very important to me that we have that bank. And that's my perspective on that. But the inheritance is all of this. Now, on this postcard or international public notice, another thing Anna had changed that I wanted to highlight that triggered in my mind to add these 4 links at the top that I was talking about in the video. She changed this word over here where it says, we are suing them for breach of trust. That used to say, we have liened them. That's initially what we agreed on, Anna and I agreed on, but she changed it later to suing. So I thought that prompted me to put on this website at the home page the 3 jurisdictions that we've proved our standing in, and this lawsuit. Now, I'm not sure about the lawsuit, if this is the one she was referring to, but I'll have to get that verified from her. And if any of you all know which one she was referring to, let me know that too. But this particular lawsuit, the Vatican Chancery Court lawsuit, I clicked it here. I put it here because I thought that was the lawsuit she was talking about. But this one that I saw, I got from, I think, Illinois. I got this from Illinois Resources, Illinois Assembly. It doesn't have a signature on the bottom. Anything that I put out with this project, I would like to have signatures on it. It doesn't have their signatures on it. If anybody have this copy with their signatures on it, I would like to have that one. But I also have to check with her to make sure that this is the one she was referring to when she said suing. And also along that line, when she said suing, in that phase 1A, I call the teeth, that addendum phase, where where I'm saying to present to the American people the declarations. There's 2 declarations of land law for the outlawing birth registrations and Federal Reserve notes. And then there's a criminal information notice of liability to back that up. Well, when we hand them this, I wrote it out so that it would look like a class action type suit. So I was thinking if she's focusing on a particular lawsuit, that if we move in that with that approach of having a class action type invitation to the public, then maybe we can connect that with the lawsuit that she's already talking about and develop that into the class action suit. But that's why I'm going with that. That's another one of them questions and directions I'm going to need to ask her to clarify as far as the lawsuit she was referring to, or the suing that she was referring to here. And even if that's the Vatican Chancery Court lawsuit or suit is not the one she was talking about, I'm still want to go through that, go with that approach of the class action lawsuit approach too, which is something that I'm entertaining, how we can actually make that happen. How would that actually fit and roll out? Now, so I got an email, a text message about somebody wasn't sure if the AFD was trading or not. So I thought, yeah, I should put that press release here too. So the recoupment of the credit and the assets, I got her video. I thought it was important to put this video on the front page, along with the press release that says the AFD is trading, and then along with the link to the actual Prosperity Union or GFG Bank. These 4 links is the evidence that I wanted to bring to the forefront when people land on this website after reviewing that international public notice. This gives them the information so that they can prove, so that we can prove our legitimacy. That's why I put these links here. Now this yellow band, I'm thinking this once things launch, of course, this is going to be changed. I was thinking maybe to the American government's Resurgence or the American government restored 2017, something like that, something to the point or eye-catching. Because a lot of people are going to want to know, who are you, where you came from, where you been? That type of question. And I'm trying to answer a lot of these questions up front, so that once they get to click that link down at the bottom to get to the assembly, they'll have some background of information, education already before they get to you. These are particularly important points I think it's important to highlight up front. That I have changed. The other thing that I have changed is this news and TV button. It used to say 1776.tv. But since we have a newsletter, I decided I'm going to put the newsletter up front. Now, we still need a publisher and an editor if we want to continue the newsletter. I think it's pretty much done. I'm just going to do some more reading, make sure typos and stuff like that. And this is where it's going to be housed. It's going to launch February 20th. What I'm going to do for the launch of it, I'm going to send a link to Tammy, let her know that she can that it's launched, and give her the link to download it. But basically, it's going to be here on this website right here for you to download, and it's also going to be on the PKTF website for you to download. And then we're going to send you a link for you to download. And it's only digital form. So if we want to continue this, and I think this is the springboard to our news platform. This newsletter talks about our news. Yes, Tammy?
So that link that you're talking about, that is how we're going to be able to share it, correct?
Correct. Mhm.
So that link will take them to this website?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Well, actually, that link will be the link to download the actual document. It will be put it at this website, but the actual PDF link is what we're going to send out.
Okay.
That I'm going to send to you to send out. So it won't be Claim Your Inheritance News -AND TV. It won't be this link. It's actually going to be the PDF download link.
Okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. I yield.
Okay. And then I added to the bottom, someone sent me this video. I thought was pretty good. So I put that in the TV platform section, because we will, and once we do build our television platform, we're going to be curating research from other people. And then our truth library is pushed down to the bottom. So I think this is a better layout for the news and TV platform, especially with our newsletter here first. The PKTF was doing a newsletter as well. I'm not sure if I'll go ahead and add that when they're done with that. I'll see, depending on if we launched or not. Once we launch, I'm not planning on making many more changes to this website, because my focus is going to be on boots on the ground. So I want this to be more evergreen in the information that I leave on this site, and put on this site, I should say. Now, the other last thing I want to make note of on this site is our declaration. Everybody is welcome to come to our declaration page, our commitment to the United States Declaration, and fill out the form and add your John Hancock to the list. Even before we launch, we as the Nationals can go ahead and fill out the form. Then this page is operational. Now, the reason that this page was developed was to give the visual image of the public, of the people who is supporting the resurgence of the American government. So not only are nationals asked to come here and make your numbers known, but also the dual status citizens as well are being called to stand up and claim their American status, American national status as well. So this page was a big point in my mind when I go back in my experience of grassroots activities and activism. Seeing the public involved and getting the public involved was very important. This was one way that I thought to do that. So that's all the things that I've updated about the website, and I'm not gonna. I don't think too much more it's going to be made. Changes is going to be made to it. This is where that international public notice is going to lead everybody to. So if you are interested in being the editor or publisher, the editor is the one who goes out and finds all the articles for the newsletter. The publisher is the one who put the actual document together. I actually use Microsoft Publisher to put it together, but you might have another publisher software that you use. Anybody who's interested in that, put your name in the chat and I will contact you on that one, but we need somebody there. Now, I also think, I know we're waiting on Anna's approval for things to get launched, but there's the phase 4 and 5. Phase 4 and 5 is the TV platform and the news platform. That's what phases 4 and 5 is. We can get started on that now. And this is the idea that I have to get started on that now. We need to start reporting here. We need to start reporting on what's going on with our governments. The American government's resurgence that's happening right now. and the United States government bankruptcy and reorganization that's happening right now. We can get started reporting on those things. I was thinking we can use our 1776 Union YouTube platform and do lives like Lisa does. Do lives as a reporting once a week on interpreting what's happening out there. Yes, Tammy?
I was just going to say that that's probably a great strategy to follow, because right now we're still kind of in the phase of educating and informing, while our governments are, assembling and structuring. We're still trying to educate and inform, so that's probably a great idea. I yield.
Now, yeah, our TV and our news platform was us putting our education on steroids. So we don't have the website developed yet, but we can start the news reporting part of it by using YouTube. So that's, if anybody who wants to report on the news once a week, like a 20-minute segment, 30-minute segment once a week, you can put your name in the chat if you're interested in that. I did have somebody in mind, but I think I'm going to be asking too much of him. But I don't know. I might have to reach out. It is really important for us to start interpreting that news for the public right now, because it's blowing their mind, I'm sure. Because I was just speaking to a friend of mine who's been in this fight 20 years or more with me, talking about what Trump is doing and da 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 da. I'm like, wait, let me tell you what he's really doing. And then, we had to get into this conversation, because she threw in the hat years ago when we had so much hard time trying to get the U.S. corporation to listen. She just threw in the hat, but I said, let me tell you really what I'm doing. What you're doing, Louise. So I had to tell her what's actually going down, and we really need to have that YouTube channel, I think, or any other avenue that you all might have ideas that we could do it on. I just thought YouTube Live would be easiest. And we don't have to wait on somebody to develop a website and all that, because that's coming later. But yeah, we need to start our news now. So that's all the updates about the project. Now, the other link that you need to have is this one right here. Tammy, would you go ahead and put that in the chat? This is the link to the overview. If you haven't seen the execution overview of all the 6 phases, that is the link that you want to go to. So those of you who want to just see what the phase 1 and 2 is about, that was the first link. But they're all found on our YouTube channel. And then yes? Oh, and then if you want to, let me see if I can find it. Then if you want to, so this is the phase 1 and 2. You want to watch that. And then you can go back, same platform. Let's go back to same platform, but then you want to watch this one. All of you who want to get the gist of the whole 6 phases, that's this one here. And we have been talking with our foreign state assemblies, trying to see how things can get implemented for them. And I think the phase 1A will be appropriate for the foreign state assemblies to execute. I haven't outlined it all in my head yet, but that's why I'm seeing phase 1A. So all the foreign assemblies that are here, when you all go through this particular video, I want you to pay close attention to phase 1A. It's called the teeth, and see how it would fit into how your government structure, your de facto government structure is, and how your sovereign assemblies are, and what the situation is that you all are dealing with the corporations on your foreign states, and see if this can fit, how it can fit. And send me an email. Let me know what your input is about this. Okay. to prepare for our launch, the strategy task force has been thinking about how to put things together so that it'd be easiest on the assemblies and the peacekeepers to launch it with knowing all the components and understand how everything fits together and what direction we're all headed in. So we thought that putting together some training would be appropriate. And I think way back in the beginning with the think tank, we also thought some training would be appropriate to help the assemblies know how to conduct these public meetings. So I am putting together in my mind how this training would go. So this is a document that I put in the chat. This is the draft of what I'm thinking about right now, as far as there's going to be training for the state assemblies and then training for the peacekeepers. And I think it'd be easiest to put it in modules. And what I want to do is put all the training up, not wait every week, put out a training module, because I want it all available to you so you can study, take notes, get with your assemblies, whatever committees you got to get with to start planning out your strategy. So what I'm thinking of doing is going ahead and putting together some modules and putting it out there for you. Now, I am working with Boyd on the peacekeeping task force to try to develop the training for the peacekeepers for phase 3. How we're going to deliver that, I'm not sure. But I just wanted to give you an idea of where my mind is going right now, what these trainings will look like. And as I was putting this together, one inspiration came to me was this one here that says, put an assembly and session announcement in the legal newspapers and your annual meeting schedule. And I was thinking, have we done that yet? Has any assembly done that yet? Posted in the legal notices, your meetings, and that you are in session? I think we need to do that. And the reason I think that came to me was because when I was talking to Adam on Ohio, he said one of the best strategies that he had, or that they used, was to present to the de facto their newspaper clipping that showed that they were elected officials of these state assemblies. Now, Tammy, there's a Zoom user. I don't know who this is, but their hand is raised. Do you see that person?
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
I know her face. I'm trying to think of her name. It's not coming. You have your hand up, so go ahead and just tell us who you are.
Thank you. It is Annette on Marion County. And yes, we have now put our notices in the paper and all of our elections in our local paper as well on Florida.
Great. I think that should be the first thing an assembly who has stood when it came into session need to do. That shows you are legitimate. So
can you, I don't mean to interrupt here, but can you tell us what your cost was, Annette?
Pretty affordable. We had, it's called the the Mahogany Express. It's an older paper. So she was very kind and extended, because she wants us to inform, obviously, all the people as well. So our cost was for 2 weeks, just under $200. But it's a fair size document, because we also listed out who all got elected and what for and what we were all doing. And we've had a great response. It's amazing.
Can you just briefly describe what your response was like? That would be really inspiring, I think.
So we are lucky enough to have a donated office. That makes a big difference. And we have had people coming in steady saying, I heard about that stuff, but I didn't know what was actually happening. And wow, this is amazing. And they're just asking questions like, how do we become a national? What do we do? Some of them are pretty out there. They've got a lot of knowledge, and then others are like starting from the beginning. So you have to hand them all the stuff from Anna and hand them the stuff from the PKTF and the CSPOA and as many things as you can without overwhelming them. And we've had a fantastic response from it. We have 2 new members in 1 week coming on board.
That's awesome. And we have a question. Kimberly's asking, can you link your ad? Can you put it into the chat so that people can, I'm thinking, Kimberly, that you're probably wanting to know if she could put the link up so that maybe we can view it.
Absolutely. If I can figure out, I'll just have to convert it from Word. I can do that for sure.
Thanks so much, Annette. That's
You're
awesome. Thank you
welcome.
for
I
sharing.
want to thank you, you ladies. Wow. My hat's off to you. And I know how much time you've put into this. I've been watching the website develop and I'm just in awe and so grateful and thankful to all of everybody that's putting in the fight. It's just amazing. I have so much respect for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. So we got Gwen.
Hi, so Terra Canada actually advertised as well. And we found a little trick when putting things in the newspaper. If you're listing your elected officials, you can use a QR code for that. And it saves you a lot of money because you don't have to pay for extra lines. And then you have more room for whatever you want to put on the page in bold, this kind of thing. And our advertising as well was about $200 for a week. So yeah, we've done that also. I yield.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. I think
That's
we all
awesome.
need to, all the standing assemblies that's in session need to do that. This is one of the documents that the peacekeepers in phase 3 is going to be using. The other idea I actually had in this module 1 is to introduce the thought of the community canvassing for everybody, all the nationals, in this way. Do you know how you go down a road in your community and you see those wanted posters along the trees? What if we, any national, can copy the International Public Notice postcard? This is the bigger size one. It's a landscape. So copy the landscape on this is 1 page, landscape on the 2nd page, and copy it in color. And one night, go down your block and staple these 1 tree at a time. Once we launch, though, we ain't launched yet. But this is the idea of when we launch. Every national can do this. Is staple that down the trees, and that will get the attention of people. I'm like, that's a good idea. I'm telling myself, Louise, that's a good idea. But every national can do that once we launch. So that will be part of the module 1 that I thought to add in there. And then, of course, every national can copy it and post it on the bulletin boards in the stores and the libraries and things like that as well. So this is the grassroots community canvassing aspect to it that any national can do. And because we had talked about budgets, the assemblies having, limited budgets or no budget at all, but an individual national could do this just on that level. Also in preparation, now this is the state assemblies. Now we have an email, an International Public Notice email, that's all part of the presentation that I just showed you. Now, let me just make this point. In this presentation down here at the bottom, if you haven't been there already, you see these links down here. One of these links is a zip file. I think it's this one. No, that's not the zip file. One of these links is the zip file. It will download every single document in the project. So in that zip file, you'll see the what I'm referencing here. You'll see the email that goes to every recorded national on your state. The first thing the assembly is asked to do, I can't find where my what's name is yet now. The first thing the assembly is asked to do is to send out an email blast to all your nationals to let them know that the Prosperity Account Services is available to them now because they're recorded now. Now, they may not have known that when they were recorded, but it is our fiduciary duty to let them know that their prepaid credit and the AFD assets is now available for them to claim and account for. So that's the first international public notice that goes out from the assembly. The next thing that's part of the first module, training module, is your assembly needs to make an assessment of your assembly. And what I mean by that, you're going to need to assess whether you have a county sheriff who's elected on your state capital, or any county sheriffs at all from any county. If you have an elected state coroner, if you have an elected PKTF liaison, if you have a continental marshal, and if you have a militia commander. These are the peacekeepers that are going to be in phase 3 doing their part. So assess if your assembly has these peacekeepers right now. Because if they don't have these peacekeepers, you might want to get them, or you might not do this particular phase or this particular approach. Phase 3 is called actually transference of government is what it's called, but it has a component to it where it's called secure the capital. That county that has the state capital and the governor in it is the county that phase 3 is going to be focusing on. If you don't have these peacekeepers, then you probably don't want to do phase 3 unless you're planning on getting the peacekeepers. You want to focus on phase 1A. You're gonna ask yourself, do you have conflict resolution protocols in place and effectively implemented? Why is that important? Well, we all know why that is important. Because the assembly can't do any business and serve the public if they don't know how to get along. So assess the health and productivity of your assembly, honestly, and see if you're going to be able to pull in these people and educate these people and put these people to work if they want to work in the government, or provide them the services that they're entitled to. Can your assembly handle that? If it's constantly in conflict, then you need to reach out to your ombudsman or get your ombudsman elected and get that particular service on your assembly up and going correctly, so that you'll be able to progress as you grow and not having, not have to go back and course correct too many times. Of course, we expect some of that. Does your assembly have a budget? Those postcards, if you decide to do postcards, that's going to cost you. If you decide to do the email campaigns, that's going to cost you. Do you have a budget for that? If you don't have the budget to do the postcards, then you may not want to do phase 1. You may want to do phase 1A, I'm sorry. You may want to do phase 1A. So you're going to be either starting with phase 1 or phase 1A. The postcards or just the county tours. Then based on your assessment of your assembly, you're going to decide which phase you're going to start with. Phase 1 and 2, that includes your peacekeepers, or just phase 1A. That's the first module of the education or the training that I'm going to be putting together for the assemblies. Of course, it'll develop from there, but that's the first things in preparation for this project to launch are the things that I think need to be put into place and start to strategize and plan what you as an assembly want to do, what approach you want to take. Now, as far as the peacekeepers, the first modules for the peacekeepers I have is know your mission. Boyd and I are going to put together the training just for the peacekeepers so that they will know what the objective of the Resurgence Project is, understand it, and what the end goal of the Resurgence Project is, understand it before we even get started. So you'll know where you have to go at the beginning. So the objective of the peacekeepers is to get the agreement of an initial, I call it a sit down, but I put meeting here, but you'll see in my documents, I call it a sit down. The initial sit down with the de facto, the commander, militia commander, and the PKTF liaisons are our initial interactions with the de facto, our neutral parties. They will be the ones who approach the county sheriffs, the governors, the attorneys, whichever people that's in phase that we need to sit down to talk to. They are your precursor as your assembly. They are your arm reach to those de facto. So that when your assembly comes in later and lay down their directives, they've already paved the way. They have a face. Whenever you send out a notice from now on to the de facto, they have a face to attach that notice to. I think right now we're too faceless. We're sending out a lot of paper, but there's no face. It's really not real. We say we're real, but the paper isn't real. We need to get our faces out there so they'll know that we're real and that we have superior concurrent general jurisdiction. So our liaison and our commanders going to be that face and try to get that sit down. They're going to know when they they're going to know when they first approach them what their end goal is. Our end goal is to get their capitulation to transfer the government from the de facto into the hands of the de jure, us, to get our control back. That is the end goal. So your assembly is going to have to write out some directives of what they want that governor to do, what they want to do with the state trusts and all those things. All those things are going, and our one fell swoop list of remedies. We're going to train the peacekeepers on what all these documents are and how we're going to be using them and what purpose they serve. So that's what training we're going to give the peacekeepers before they even go out there. The one fell swoop. Yes, Tammy.
Thanks, Louise. So when you say there's going to be some training here, do you have any idea of when that training is going to begin? And is that going to take place on these meetings, or are you going to be having is it a training module that people can also use as a playback, watch as a playback in case they can't make the live meetings? What is that going to look like, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so my initial thought here, particularly for the part that I'm doing the training for the assemblies, and Boyd is spearheading the training for the peacekeepers, but for the assemblies, the training is going to be pre-recorded in module format. I'm going to put as many out as I can at once. But when we have our strategy task force meetings or sessions every other week. So every other week will be, I will be available, and we will be available, the strategy task force will be available in those meetings, in those sessions for assemblies to come and ask questions, to unpack some things that they didn't understand as far as strategy-wise, or get some more direction if they were out there in the public at your town meeting or public meeting and something happened that you might want to bring to the strategy task force, and we rethink or readjust our approach. That's where that will happen. So how will I be presenting the training? It will be pre-recorded training modules that I will put on 1776 Union, and I will put on PKTF News website, YouTube channel, so that you all have that available, like I said earlier, to go through it. Just like that. Get your notes down, get your strategy down, get with the committees that you need to get with, figure out what approach you're going to do, all that kind of stuff. You're gonna need time to do all that. And I'm not trying to wait a whole nother year to get information out to you. People ready to go right now, and so am I. But we do need to organize. We do need to know what we're going out there to do and have this thought out. So that's what I'm thinking now, is delivering it in modules and just have it pre-recorded. And then on my strategy task force sessions every other week, provide the in-person communication back and forth between me and the assemblies with questions and new strategies that you might come up that we can implement as well.
Luis, if you, are you going to be issuing a link for those strategy task force trainings
Yeah.
that you're doing every other week?
Yeah. If you don't have those, I can put those in, I'll put them in one of my notes here. I can just get it and get it here for you. I'll have to get it to you. Maybe I'll get it to you to send back with the replay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I yield.
And if you want your name, your email put on the strategy task force list for the sessions, for the Zoom invitations, you can put that in the chat as well. Mm-hmm. When I will be starting on those trainings, if you have that question, I'm looking at between a week or two. I'll start on those, and it's the progression of those are going to be dependent on my communication with Anna, because there are some documents that I haven't gotten approved yet. That's part of phase 1A and phase 2, which I need approval on to go ahead and do my training on those and how we can utilize those documents. And they're listed. Some of them are listed right here. The phase 3 peacekeepers, all these documents, we're going to list what documents that they need to present to the de facto and make them aware of, because these are the peacekeepers that are just the forerunners. There's some other ones coming behind them. We're just letting you know. This is what's coming. This is what we need to do so that we can be clear on how the land jurisdiction and the Admiralty maritime jurisdictions are going to interface and how we're going to be servicing the public. This is what the peacekeepers need to be able to be comfortable enough with what's in those documents when they go talk to the de facto about those documents, because those documents are telling them that we're outlawing birth registrations. We're outlawing this theft of credit with these FRNs. There's a criminal information notice of liability if you don't even sit down and have a conversation, you are guilty of treason. Those who haven't had a conversation are already guilty, and that's what these documents are going to be saying. So the peacekeepers will become familiar with those documents before they even go out to the de facto to talk about the documents and deliver them to them. The one fell swoop list remedies, your state assembly need to be outlining the directives that you want your peacekeepers to deliver to the governor about transferring that state trust and all the other assets that need to be transferred to you, and how you're going to even receive the control back. Your assemblies need to be preparing and thinking about how you're going to receive your control back, because the shift is happening right now. What I mean is, we see the municipal government is defunct. The British territorial is trying to take over that position. But in reality, since the municipal government is defunct, their constitution is defunct, so they no longer work for us. That's how I'm seeing it, if it's defunct. Now, I guess we have the Pope that's left, if he's really the Pope and not the patriarch of the West or whatever he is right now. That means, now, and this is a question for Anna, does that mean we should be running our post office right now? Because that's what their job was. And if they're not there, how should the American government now take on that responsibility? That's what the assemblies need to be outlining as we approach the de facto, and telling them how this is supposed to roll out, how this transference is supposed to go. So that's module 2, know your documents, is what I'm thinking of right now for the the peacekeeping task force to train the peacekeepers about. And that's as far as my mind got. I just want to give you an idea of what type of training that we thought would be helpful before we put our boots on the ground with the assemblies and with the peacekeepers. So that's where it's headed. Do you all have any questions what I've covered here so far? Because that's all that I'm gonna share on the call here for today. All right. I will go ahead and find that link to the strategy task force and put that in the chat. And if there's no other questions, I'm going to hand it back over to Tammy.
Okay, and Luis, I just want to reiterate that you shared in the chat the questions that you had for Anna, so anybody can click on that and download it and have it. Look it over, see if there's anything that perhaps we're missing, and feel free to email either Luis or myself, and we can go ahead and add those questions. Hopefully, Luis can get those over to Anna, and we can have these questions answered soon. And if not, then if we have to push it off till next month, we can do that too. So anybody have any questions for Luis on anything that we covered? All right, well, I'd like to go ahead and open it up. I think it's really important. I'm just going to caveat this with, you know, in our assemblies, it's very difficult to get people to start thinking of how to behave like a state national. What is it that I have to do? What is my responsibility as a member of my assembly? There's still this indoctrination where people are coming in and still acting as if there's a one particular leader and waiting for others to do the work for them. And I know that we all have been feeling this because there's usually a handful of us, maybe more on other states that are a little bit bigger, but there's usually, you know, a handful of us that are doing a bulk of the work. And it's usually because, from what I can tell, that people are just used to having somebody else do it for them, right? Like the current situation that we're dealing with is we have bureaucrats that we supposedly elect into an office, and they're there to do the work for us. And so that's not how we operate. We all know that. So I'd love to open it up to what your assemblies, what you guys are doing in your assemblies to help combat that. And don't be shy. Raise your hand or unmute yourself.
I'll speak.
Thank you. Is this Cheryl?
It's Cheryl on Virginia.
Hi, Cheryl.
And luckily it's not me that's trying to light a fire under people. It's Lorraine, our chair pro tem. But we're taking a cue from Ohio. We've had Lorraine has met with and spoken with Lisa several times, and she kind of mentioned how she just basically started asking people. And she's literally this past week just started. There's people that have just been, they'll come every now and again, and of course they're usually pointing out what we're not doing properly, kind of thing. So then she just said, hey, that's a great idea, how about you do this? And we've got them stepping up, a couple of them. So when people come in, finding out what their gifts are, what their passions are, like I have Hector on here this evening from Virginia, I think, and he's on fire, this guy. So we just need to ask and then nudge, you know, because on Virginia, it's been like 8 people for, 3 years. So, and with that, I yield. and thank you so much to all of you. And Louise, you kick ass, excuse my French, and you too, Tammy, and everybody else here. I yield.
Yeah, that goes ditto to you, Cheryl. You know, your notices that you guys put out are awesome. For anybody who's, wanting to look at the Virginia Assembly's notices, you could go to their website. One thing that I really love about their website is that they put all their notices up on their website. And so you know,
If I may, real quick, just plug our website. Lorraine and I have been working our tails off on our website. LinkedIn with Louise, with the newsletter for Louise's project. I was prompted by Louise to throw some extra materials together, and I maxed out the page. So I'm really excited about it. It's called Unifying Facts. It's at the bottom of our more tab because it's not really assembly related, and they've given me permission to go with that biodigital convergence information there. Also, we're putting together, because our notice to Anna, we've just put notice, some of you may have heard that we're ready to stand and be seated, all 10 of us.
That's fantastic news.
And so anyway, we're literally putting everything that we're doing open source on our website. So we've got 2 new pages, one on committees and structure, and I just spent a whole week editing and writing for that. And then we have an elections page too. So you guys, please check it out. I think our website is so beautiful, if I may say so myself, and it's meant for all of you. So please check it out. I yield.
Cheryl, can you actually put your website in the chat? That would make it easier for people to go check it
Yeah,
out.
of course.
Thank you. All right, Annette, go ahead, Annette.
Thank you. I am just as stoked to hear what all of you are doing. So on Marion, we've got very good participation, and we find that it's about our weekly meetings. We bring it into a format that we're inviting each of them to read the Bibbins or do a prayer or participate in some way, and it seems to be making a tremendous difference. We also have a very active Telegram channel that seems to be keeping them coming back constantly, which is wonderful. We are, I would say, once a week, sometimes every 2 weeks, we have a get together at a restaurant that can handle large groups, or like in a couple weeks, we're doing it at my house. And it just gives them more of a family feeling and that they are part of something. And I do exactly what I'm trying to think of her name before me said. We literally say to them, you know what, you'd be amazing at this, and we need everybody to get, even if it's just seat warming till we get through this, right? And we get more people, more men and women on to our assemblies. It's just so important that they feel that they are going to make a difference in the recovery of our governance and that this is their 1776 moment. So I just wanted to share that our excitement has been pulling Marion through. And one other notice, we just got the crazy good news that literally 2 doors down from our office, the new peacekeeping task force building has been announced that they're going to be building for all of us on Florida. It's so exciting at 1680 Northwest 77th Street in Ocala, Florida.
Awesome. That's amazing, Annette. Thank you for that update. Wow.
Yeah, very exciting. Everybody should be excited that we're getting a third building for the Peacekeeping Task Force. And I yield. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Awesome. All right.
Tammy, may I? To
Yes,
jump on
go
what Annette is saying. Now that when Annette was saying that having that physical office was important and made a difference, I'm going to emphasize that with her. Now, one of the objectives of the Peacekeeping Task Force is for their liaisons to have an office. Remember, we are real people. We have to show our faces, show our legitimacy. So having an office somewhere located, as many as we can, but having at least one office in your state where you can say, here's the address, go there. See, check us out, that type of thing. So yeah, if you have a liaison and they don't have an office yet, I would encourage your assembly to work on that to get an office set up for that liaison. And if your assembly itself just want an office. Now we are planning in our Resurgence project to take back our capital. So we're going to have our offices. But for now, that's the importance of having those offices set up. I yield.
I have a question for Annette on the Peacekeeping Task Force office. How is that getting funded?
You know, I don't know. I just was on with them discussing some pretty serious stuff for corruption on Marion going on, and they gave me this exciting news, and I double checked on the property, and it definitely shows that they own it. So somebody funded it. I know that there was a donation a few years back of a gentleman, probably, you know, an inheritance or something of that nature, that because it's a pretty big piece of property right against a very important road, so it's probably very expensive. So I would suspect that the property itself was donated and from someone that has a beautiful heart, and then that gave the PKTF the opportunity to be able to fund a building. But it's a big piece of land and it's a perfect location.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Gwen, go ahead on Terra. Is it Terra Canada? Is that where you're at?
Terra Canada. Yeah, we say that so we differentiate from the de facto corporation. So you can call us Canada. We're fine with that. So basically, as we come forward every week, we have a weekly General Assembly meeting. Inside that meeting, we've got a slide made up, and we welcome our new people to the land and soil and welcome them home every week. Even if I don't have anybody, I make the announcements, and every week it's a call to duty. So I talk about the fact that now that you're on the land and soil, take a look at our positions list, our volunteer list, and see if there's something that suits you. And if you have questions, we actually have an individual email address set up called nominations at Sea National Sovereign. People can reach out to me, ask a little bit more about what is that position? How do I do it? What's the vetting? Because we're fairly spread out, like we've got a huge geography we're covering as a state assembly. We find that helps. And then every once in a while, we'll actually scan the list of the people who have come on, and we reach out to them privately or directly and ask them, hey, what do you do for a living? Like, you know, what do you think you could do? This kind of thing. So they're not scared to step up, because a lot of the people think you need to have a title or a designation to do something in the government, because they've kind of been brainwashed into this university mentality. And so we find that really helps them to want to come on and volunteer. And we don't care if they're old, young, everybody's welcome. So of course our older members feel welcome then to join in, because they think, oh, I'm too old, like what would I contribute? And then also inside our meetings, we did actually teach weekly about what are these positions as we were looking to form our assembly, so that everybody could ask questions. And we do have a Telegram job title group where people can go in and also search about that as well. So that's what we did. So I yield.
Awesome. I love it. And I love hearing everybody's tactics and strategies on how to combat this. I think this is very useful. Darren, go ahead.
Thanks, Tammy. I've got a fair bit to share. If you like, we can listen to what Kalina's got to share first of all, and then I might grab a screen share and put some stuff up to show you, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
You want me to share now?
Yeah, unless, how long
No.
is it going to take, Darren? About how long?
I don't know, 10 minutes or so. I'm happy for Kalina to jump in. And
all right. So I'll get to Kalina and then we'll come back to you, Darren. Okay, go ahead, Kalina.
Hi, peace and love, everybody. It's been a while, but I have been back and forth to California to take care of an aging mom for about a month or so, and still taking care of her. So I apologize. I also moved, but in the midst of all that, I was elected as co-coordinator for El Paso County, Colorado. I also got placed into events, marketing, and promotion. So I have a really great guy that I'm working with. His name is Timothy Hageman, and he's fabulous. He designs all of our flyers. I'm the creative director, and he just produces the work. So our strategy has been, we have a weekly General Assembly meeting, and that started kind of stagnating a little bit because Scott and Trish, our coordinator, and one of our state secretaries are husband and wife. They've had some medical issues, some serious ones. And so to get it back up, we had to, as soon as I got back from California, we had to start doing our monthly meetings. So now we have a on El Paso County meeting, but also a public potluck and meeting that we have once a month. So when I was in California, I had the opportunity to attend the day before all the Los Angeles fires came. I got the Assembly Guide for Disruptive Behaviors from Michelle Ford, and it's 25 pages long. I did talk with her and another gentleman named Greg that very in depth about how division had happened within their assembly and how they countermanded it with kind of an outline of this Assembly Guide for Disruptive Behaviors. It's very well written. It's off of everything kind of that Anna had stated. So really enjoyed looking at California's marketing and promotion so I could bring it back. So I shared our stuff, which they thought was excellent, and I loved the content of where they're coming from. So in moving forward with kind of events and promotions, I had Timothy, I kind of give him the design direction, like creative direction, and he just produces it. So recently he just produced 4 designs with different colored t-shirts for our state seal, and they're beautiful. The brochure is beautiful. Our business cards coming up are beautiful. And I just really thank the good Lord for giving me Timothy, who is willing to do, you know, kind of everything. He also designed our court seal and is designing a whole different thing for on El Paso County, because we have a lot of go-getters on El Paso County. So I'm looking forward to that. So we have an idea that we're going to market. I keep trying to bring in what you all are doing and try to kind of come back. And I know I got to get that song list to you, Louise. that whole thing was in boxes. So I just unpacked it the other day. So moving really kind of put me in a kind of a glitch. But on May 18th, we are going to revive I Am an American Day. And so I'm going to do press releases, kind of keeping in line with, like, I had a chance to watch just an hour and a half of your last meeting and where you're coming from, and then looked at a big stack of paperwork that I brought to Scott, our coordinator, our state coordinator, and said, we've got to get in line with international outreach. So let's move forward. Let's kind of get this going. So we have a lot going on the monthly level, and then just creating events and things with promotion. So one opportunity that we were offered is Chief Aha, who I guess, Louise, you might know him. He's kind of in charge of Region 8 as a Continental Marshal. So, and then our PT, our Peacekeeping Task Force liaison became Christopher Hess. So he is writing a book. Chief Aha has written a book for tourism in the San Luis Valley for Colorado. And with that, he offered us an opportunity, Tim and I, to kind of do the advertising, and that can get out. The Colorado Assembly and then the Federation of States, we can advertise that, and it could go to 2 million people on that. So we're trying to step ahead. And one last thing, we have one of the state senators I'm friends with from back in the ministry days, and I used to run his campaign before I had to go out to California to help my aging parents at that time. But we're going to approach him and see if we can't get our sheriff letter, our second notice. We are still stuck kind of in a mud kind of thing of agreeing, like, I don't agree to go hard, somebody else agrees that they want to go hard, and I designed an event to film and house this as the sheriff's kind of outreach, kind of, and then we'll film that. So that event is coming up. So I'm promoting by doing events. So that's pretty much that. And then I'll catch up with y'all on what I said I'd follow through with. So just pardon the move and all the craziness. But anyway, I yield. Darren's turn. Hey.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to touch a little bit on some of the things that you said, Kalina, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So first of all, wow, you're a very busy lady, a lot going on, and thank you for that update. I did want to say that, you know, you spoke about the guidebook
Yes.
of disruptive behaviors. So I believe, and I think Danica has written in the chat that that Anna told the California Assembly, and I don't know if she actually said this, because I was told that, you know, Danica said Anna told the California Assembly not to use that disruptive behavior guide, but I was also told that Anna didn't like the reentry process. And I'm just going to touch a little bit on this guidebook, because I can tell you firsthand that our assembly was dealing with a lot of disruption.
Yes.
We had a lot of behaviors that weren't in line with how we're supposed to conduct our business affairs in our assembly. We had we had a coordinator that was trying to use the timeout process in a way that was not in alignment with how Anna was telling us.
Right.
Our assembly chose to adopt that guidebook. However, we did change some things. One thing that we changed was we didn't think it was appropriate to call a timeout to give an adult a timeout. If we're expecting people to show up and act like adults, we have to then treat them and be respectful and treat them like adults, even if they are acting like children.
Right.
But we have to raise the bar and keep the bar there, and and treat them like adults. And therefore, hopefully they'll come back and start behaving like adults. So instead of calling it a timeout, we actually called it a a retreat and reflection.
Oh, I like that much better. Much better. Okay.
And so, and we did implement a progressive timeout, because that's, you know, that's really how it's supposed to be used. Basically, when somebody comes in and they're misbehaving, you give them a warning. You have a decorum. You know, we were very grateful to the Ohio Assembly for giving us their decorum. It was very well laid out. And they're to adhere to the decorum. And if they don't, they get a warning. If they can't adhere to it, and they continue with the disruption, then we remove them from the assembly, give them some information on how to correct their behavior, and invite them back next time. And, you know, and if it continues, then it goes to a longer break. And this is all stuff that Anna has talked about.
Right.
And then if it continues and the disruptions don't stop because they're just being troublemakers and true, you know, infiltrators and disruptors, then it's a longer break, and maybe a full removal of not even able to attend the meetings anymore. So I highly suggest that people in each of your assemblies put together some kind of process in order to deal with that. I do think that some of our assemblies are being bombarded with troublemakers. And I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just people who don't have the ability to act like grown adults and they don't know how to have professional etiquette. But in either case, the decorum, having that decorum in place and having a process set up, basically deals with anybody, whether it's just adults acting like children or it's infiltrators or provocateurs. So, and I just, want to, contribute to that. So,
Well, I appreciate that because the gentleman that I had talked to, he did state that Anna had not recommended it, even though it was written from a lot of articles that it was based on. But recently we had an issue where a lot of people thought when somebody was reprimanded because they disagreed with somebody, then they were, slapped with the 6-month, you can't come back. And it, to me, I thought it was kind of, when I only heard about it, I wasn't in there, so I don't know, how to judge it. All that I knew was 6 months seemed to be a little stringent, and I felt that the person who felt offended, she ended up texting me and saying everything was okay. And I'm glad that we can remedy it, but we have had problems before where people, in talking to the gentleman from California, he said one thing that he noted was that when something is happening, it's up to the moderator to handle it. But if the moderator isn't handling it immediately, then his advice was to somebody in the assembly must speak up immediately and handle it right there, and maybe even put it to a vote and a motion, that it needs to be handled right away. And that was Michelle Ford's conclusion too, is when these disruptors come and provocateurs and things like that, to handle it immediately. Don't start taking inventory of what they're doing, just handle it right then and there. So yeah, I appreciate that. I'd like to see Ohio's assemblies decorum to kind of advise. I did send this out to even our legal state justice and see what, whatever, our marshal, a couple sheriffs, and see what they have to say. So I have yet to hear from them. Mhm.
yeah, and I think the process when, like you said, is the moderator, it's the moderator's job to basically, stop any disruptions from happening.
Yeah.
If they don't take the warning of the moderator, then I believe it's the marshal at arms that actually deals with that.
But if people aren't acting in their full capacity, then, because that's what has happened, is even though those people and people with those titles were in place, it didn't happen like that. And
Yeah,
so
and
it blew up. It blew
yeah,
up.
I think the problem that we're facing, and this was part of the reason why I wanted to talk about indoctrination and what we're supposed to be doing when we are status corrected and we're either serving as an assembly member or we're serving as an elected position, that the marshal at arms probably needs to be trained properly on what their role is. And I know we have a marshal at arms on the call tonight. Cynthia, I don't know if you want to speak on this topic, but feel free to chime in.
I can tell you that as we take a step or two forward, there are processes. The one thing Ohio had that North Carolina was missing was the process and procedures. The progress that is being made with the process and procedures has slungshot us so far forward, and we have so many people that we're within months of getting ready for seatment. So with that single vision, with all of the everything behind us cut out as they did. We're not doing notices. We're not doing any of the other stuff. We have one single focus. That's to learn those documents and have our people in place to know how they work, how to implement them, and how to deal. That Ohio document on decorum has changed our complete assembly.
That's what I thought. Sorry, go ahead.
Our assembly is based on, the assembly is for voting and reporting.
Okay.
That's the business. It's not there for gripes, complaints, and who's whining and who's hurt and who's upset. And oh my God, take it to the committee, learn to debate and talk. We don't have a problem with people having a problem, but there's a proper place to take it, not in the middle of votes and reports. There's a small discussion. If it's too large, it goes back. So to cut down all of the food fight in the kitchen, all we had to do was implement those documents. And Anna has given her a mandate to teach the assemblies. So I can't give you the documents, but I do know with an amount of teaching, she will supply them. And it has made a world of difference for us. Even in my job as to keep the decorum and to pass out the discipline, we haven't had a need for discipline in probably 5-6 months, since September.
Wow.
No need. No
Okay.
calling them down, no timeout, no nothing. This is how it's handled. There is no question. This is the way it's done.
How do I get a hold of that Ohio Assembly decorum?
You have to get Lisa. Lisa does the teaching. And if you go on her podcast on Tuesday, she did questions and answers. Next week is on justices. She will come in and teach your assembly, give you the basics, set your structure in place, and get you started on the right thing towards seatment.
I appreciate that, Cynthia. Thank you. That's valuable information. Thanks, Tammy.
I yield.
Appreciate that.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. And so, I just wanted to reiterate, because we were, talking about the martial at arms and their role. I agree with what Cynthia said 100%, that once you have that decorum in place, and it's an agreement that they autograph, and you keep that for your records. And so, when any of these disruptions take place, you just refer to that decorum, right?
Right.
And so, like Cynthia was saying, there's very little disruptions that take place, and very few times, if any at all, that your martial at arms would have to do that to anybody. I will say that we did have somebody on our assembly that refused to sign it, and so that's a red flag, right? Why wouldn't you want to sign that? And so our assembly actually voted and accepted the decorum. And so it's a requirement now that everybody has to autograph it and accept it. And so, anyway, yeah, it's made a world of difference, I believe. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let Darren talk now. Sorry, Darren, we went off on a side note there.
No, that was all very interesting, and it'd be very interesting to see if we can tap into Lisa's training. So if I would be able to get some information on that, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Lisa, if you watch this playback, Lisa, sorry, but you're going to be bombarded. Sorry, Darren, go ahead.
That sounds wonderful, because that's all, we're at the same space. We've done a lot of work to try and define what the assembly is going to look like. We've done a lot of work on the offices, but we're starting from scratch. We don't have templates to work from and that sort of thing. So understanding how the justice works, understanding how the martial at arms works is, we're at that point now. We really need that. We're just about to announce that we're standing a national assembly. We've got a different starting point to America. So America's going back to 1776. You've got a Declaration of Independence. You've got your constitutions in place and all the rest of it. We don't have any of that. It's been fraud here from day one, from the day that Cook arrived on the island. So, and that's a wonderful thing because it means we can define what our governance structure looks like completely. But it also means we don't have any law here. So prior to Cook arriving, it was all tribal. There was no common law. And because we haven't had a kinetic battle with the originals, shoulder to shoulder and spilt blood on the land to be able to come to an agreement on that, we're sort of going back and saying, well, our starting point is natural law. And that means everybody's free unless you cause harm. And that's a pretty nice position to be in. But there's a lot of unanswered questions, well, how do we handle land ownership? And we've never had land ownership here. It's always been corporate. The original colonies were chartered corporations. So we've got lots of learning to do, lots of work to be done. And thankfully, people are starting to step forward and get involved in those things as we talk about it more. One of the reasons we're standing the National Assembly, which that was originally going to be later down the track, the local assemblies where the real authority is in this structure. And we were going to leave the National Assembly to the people to decide what they wanted that to look like. But because we've had individual states working on things by themselves, and as much as we tried to sort of create unity and get people together, it's been a bit of a struggle. But as soon as we started talking about this National Assembly, we've suddenly got people putting their hands up and wanting to join national committees and action groups and all that sort of thing. So it's looking really good. So yeah, very keen to get onto Lisa's stuff if we can. Talking about outreach, and some people on here have seen this already, but one of the first initiatives that we came up with was we need to get into the policy enforcement and provide education and make them aware, because here the idea of the right to travel and right to bear arms and these things are just foreign. It's never been here. We've never had it. So policy enforcement, well, it's straight, they've all been trained, straight to sovereign citizen and blah, blah, blah. So we got Anna's approval and we got a whole heap of her, something's wrong when printed, a bit over $20,000 worth. And then we've been around every state and we've had 25 autographs put in the front. So every one of them's been witnessed as a living, true document. And then we put a whole heap of information in there, which talks about the fraud and the fact that it's all a corporation, and it's not actually on the land and soil and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of information in there for the people that this gets handed to. And we're just in the process at the moment of starting to plan how we roll that out, because a big country, there's several thousand policy enforcement officers, there's probably close to 1,000 town councils and regional councils that need to be seen as well. And it's all being done with volunteers, of course, and we're spread fairly thin. So, but that's part of the next process, and we're pushing hard to try and get PKTF liaisons in place around the country, because we see the national PKTF coordinator, Richard, talks about them being the handshake. So you were talking earlier about their role, or Louise was, and that's the term that we use here. They are the handshake. So it's good opportunity for them to start to build relationships if they lead that initiative of taking the books in with some witnesses with them, and start to build those relationships. So, the other big thing that we've done is we've launched a paper, and that's a national paper. It's a community paper. 40 pages of quality information about the fraud. I'm happy if people want to have a look at it, I can bring it up on the screen and tell me when you've seen enough, and we can take it down. Can you see that?
Yes, we
So,
can. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. So that's the front page of the inaugural edition, the January edition. The March edition will go to the printers today. So this is a monthly publication. Whoops, that's a bit big.
Oh, I think somebody shared this on Telegram. I remember, or did you do a video on this? Did somebody create a
Yeah.
video?
Yeah, Ben, the Victorian coordinator, did a video of him reading it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I watched this. This is a beautiful layout. I mean, beautiful newspaper.
Yeah.
Very well done.
How can we get a hold of one? I'd be willing to pay for it.
Yeah, beautiful. Probably the easiest way at the moment for sending overseas might be to contact me, or I'll throw the website. No, probably email to me is probably the easiest at this stage.
Darren, if you want to put your email address in the chat so people, if they want this, they can email you. And anybody else that's asking for the Ohio Assembly's decorum, Kevin Keating on Ohio put Lisa Schaefer's email address in the chat, so you could grab that as well.
So hopefully Kimberly's received her copy by now and Gwen's received her copies. So we have sent it overseas for a few people, yeah. Anna was sent some copies. So the idea is we've got a sister paper. I don't have a copy of it here, but there was a paper released toward the end of last year, September, October, which is called The Corruption Whistleblower. And it's been produced as a brief of evidence. So they're actually being very, very careful about what they print. They make sure that they've got all of the evidence to support their claims. And it's 80 pages of the fraud and of the harms that have been caused, not just in the last 5 years, but anything they can come up with. So it's it's evidence against the corporation and against the men and women that are working in that corporation for the harms that they've caused. What happened was the proprietors of that publication went to one of the assembly meetings on New South Wales. And we've got a young fellow there, wonderful young fellow that's setting up the assembly there. Just in one presentation, convinced them that this was the solution. So they immediately jumped in their automobile, came up to Queensland and completed their paperwork. And they were here for a few days, and there was a lot of discussion around how can we leverage their paper with the TASA stuff. And their stuff is, it's all about the corporation. It's all about statutes and acts. It's all about protesting and that sort of stuff, which is, it's got nothing to do with us. We've got to be very careful not to cross that jurisdiction. So someone somewhere along the line said, well, why don't we just launch a new paper? And 10 days later, we had this one put together and at the printers. It was a pretty mammoth task. But yeah, it's the March edition will have a lot more community content in it. So as people start to get excited about it, yeah, we're getting a lot more input from the rest of the community. And that's the idea. It shouldn't be just 2 or 3 people's stories and ideas. It needs to be a cross section, because we've struggled, and I guess you guys are the same. We've struggled to get any sort of penetration into the other groups that are standing up and pushing back. We're considered to be a little bit late to the party. We didn't announce our assemblies until January last year, 2024. And for most people out there, they really hadn't heard of TASA or what we were doing. So a lot of them sort of saw us as just a new pop-up group, and it was a small participation and all those sorts of things. And because of the nature of what we're doing, it's very grassroots. So the building of the assembly starts at the base and moves up. And because we'd gone state first, it just made us a little bit disjointed. And we were under attack. There's quite a lot of groups out there that were saying very nasty things about us, which is fine. Again, we don't need everybody. The thing that made the real big difference to us really was we did a tour of the country. We hopped in an automobile, myself and so TASA here was started by Mookie and Judgy, a husband and wife team, about 15 or 16 years ago. They started following Anna's work. They had a SWAT raid, guns to the head, all that sort of stuff here. And that was the, as Mookie puts it, they came looking for trouble, and I'm a man of my word, I'm going to give them the trouble. So then the assembly movement was born. And yeah, the good thing is now it's, you know, they're sort of able to step back and let most of what's going on is being done by the people. It's not being done by, you know, a central body. But obviously we communicate broadly and whatever else. And we're just reaching out now to see what else is out there that can help us and what we can do to help others. But anyway, so we did this tour. So we spent 3 months on the road. We did something like 40 presentations in all sorts of different places, small towns, in Masonic halls, in you know, council buildings, meeting halls, all sorts of things. People's backyard sheds, carports, and all sorts of things. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience because, you know, we got to spend time with hundreds and hundreds of really beautiful people that are genuinely looking to, you know, make change and do something for the betterment of their fellow man. And it was an opportunity for us to get out and be seen to be, you know, it was Mookie and myself, so to be genuine. Okay? And it drove home to me the importance of having those face-to-face meetings, getting people together in a hall, and, you know, not just focusing on the business stuff, but also meeting our emotional needs and our needs to be connected. So that was sort of the initiating thing. And then, so we got Vicky on the call. I think she's still there. Was one of the people that organised the meeting for us in her small region, small area. So that she's just picked the ball up from there and been able to begin building a magnificent assembly in Yeppoon, just a, you know, out in the sticks sort of place. But that was, yeah, that's sort of really kick-started the momentum for us. And we did come under fire because people were sort of going to some of the other groups and saying, we got these couple of wallies turning up to have a talk to us about self-governance. And the leaders of those groups started putting very nasty comments out about us and about TASA and all this sort of stuff. So, but it actually worked in our favour. You know, they say that all publicity is good publicity, and the more they said to their people, you can't go and have a look at them, the more people turned up. So it was a funny thing. But
that's fabulous. It's not a surprise, but yeah, that's a great story.
May I? Darren, can you hear me?
yeah, it's all about, because we've got this other paper that's doing the bad stuff, we can focus on bringing forward the solution and keep it nice and light and positive, which has been really good.
So Luis asked, may I? And then I think Kalina also has a question. So Luis, go ahead.
Darren, this is great. You talk about my little 40-page newsletter. This is better to me.
I'm drafting my 4-page newsletter today.
And who did the graphics? I'd like to know. That's great right there.
We've got a fellow, he lives nearby, he comes and visits occasionally, but he's a builder, and he's always had a bit of a passion for drawing. And he mentioned one day that he'd like to have a go at cartoons, and yeah, he does this stuff. It's just wonderful.
That's great.
So Darren, what does it take for you all to put a newspaper together? So everybody here on the think tank can start thinking how we getting our news out. So what does it take?
Absolutely. So the first thing was we needed a printer that was prepared to do it, and that we don't have the risk of them dumping us, you know, put it in, think it's coming, and then all of a sudden it gets dropped, because we have had that trouble happen with other things that have been produced. But because we had the corruption whistleblower already had an established relationship with a printer, and because they're printing that, they're a little bit awake to what's happening. They were happy to do it. So getting the printer was the first challenge to overcome. The next one is the money. So it's costing us around about all up probably $22,000 a month, and we've struggled to get the money coming in.
22,000 a month?
That's correct. Yeah. So we're printing 12,000 copies a month, And then there's distribution.
Mhm.
So we're relying on the volunteers at the moment. So for the last couple, we've had people actually, because it's printed in Victoria, and we've been very lucky. We've had state nationals that have been happy to throw it in their automobiles and bring it up for us. And then Mookie spent nearly 2 weeks taking it north on Queensland
Mhm.
and spreading it around the state here. So distribution's a big challenge, and because it's such a big area.
Do y'all put it
Um,
at newsstands, or how do you deliver it?
Yeah, so at the moment, again, it's all, so Vicky, for example, would take however many bundles of the paper, and then it's up to her to get out and find resellers. So we're really keen to get, and we're finding success with places like health food stores. They normally have a higher percentage of their customers are likely to be awake or open to this stuff. But yeah, finding stores that will actually then go ahead and place the orders, pre-order the papers and have them dropped off is ideal. Obviously we'd love to be able to pre-sell it and have the money secured. But yeah, it's all reliant on the volunteers. And like everything, it takes a little bit for people to comprehend the benefit. So again, this is probably the best tool we could have possibly come up with to get penetration into those other groups and get the message across. When you're trying to talk to someone and explain what we're doing and why we're different to everybody else, you don't hit the mark generally. You don't have the time to cover the scope, and often you see their eyes roll over because it's a little bit challenging asking them to self-govern. So yeah, the feedback's been wonderful. And then the other side, or the big challenge, is the content.
Yes.
And it's not that we've got a lack of content. No, we do rely heavily on Anna's writings. So every paper has 2 or 3 of her full articles in there. And then we'll do an article that supports that and makes it more suitable to, or, it draws the parallels between the article and what's happening on Terra Australis. So initially there was really, there's only a couple of us that put all the content together. And so there's the content creation, and then, as you said before, there's the editing and the putting it into the format. So at the moment, it's still a very small team. We're getting a lot of content coming in, which is wonderful. It means it doesn't have to have, all look like it's been written by me. But that editing and stuff is a real big challenge. So we have, in the last week, there's been 3 of us having WebExes and going through all the articles and checking and changing words and reformatting it to do whatever. And that's, every night for a couple of weeks up until 2 in the morning. So it's a big job, but because it's starting, we're sort of starting to, because again, we've never formed government before. We've never created a newspaper before. We're slow because of that. But we've identified now, we've got some people out there who would be able to help with proofreading and, changing the words that we don't want to be printing and all that sort of thing. So we'll start to drag in other people to be involved in a lot of that stuff, and that'll reduce the time. But like everything, it's, you'd experience it yourself, Louise. It takes, it's 1 or 2 people pushing hard before the others can see the value and come on board to help make it happen. But the feedback's been wonderful, and like I say, people are starting to buy in now. We're getting loads of content coming through, and there's a bit of excitement forming, which is nice, really nice.
Is this
So
once a month?
Once a month.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason we're doing that is because we've got some locations where to print your notices, it can cost up to $600 or $700 a month to print a notice, the notice of Precipe. So one of the things we wanted to do with this was offer the 3 monthly public notice to state nationals as they're doing their paperwork. So we're able to keep the costs right down, because it's not a profit-making venture. Thankfully, it's certainly not proving to be a good business investment. But it's about helping people. It's, it's worth the investment because we're getting the word out. We are absolutely bringing new people in. I'm just trying to get to the notice of press. This is the corruption whistleblower. So they're the ones that are doing it's our sister paper. They're bringing forward the bad stuff.
Okay.
There we go. So yeah. So in the first one, I think we had 22 notice of suppressor pays. I think there's nearly 40 in the March edition,
Mhm.
which is really exciting.
About how
Yeah.
many on your assembly now? You've been a month. Is this a month in, you said, officially?
Is it a what, sorry?
Are you said you officially announced your assembly a month ago?
We announced the assemblies on the 12th of January 2024. So we have been assembled ever since and holding public meetings all over the place and whatever else. But we did that state by state. So what we're announcing in the March paper is that we're forming a national assembly and we're doing away with the states. We're going to get rid of the borders and we'll just have the single assembly. And the beauty of doing that is we're flattening the structure because, again, the real power comes from the districts, the local assemblies. And we'll end up having, it makes sense that some of those would form regions and send representation from the region, but yeah, that's still to be built. That'll come. So that's keeping us busy, but it's been really good. Oh, there we go. Look at that. We've been lucky. So Gwen gave us a story for the January edition. We had Tony from Ireland gave us a write-up for the February edition, and Dolores has given us one for the March edition. So we're getting that international content in there as well. And we would absolutely welcome content from our American brethren as well. We'd love to have some input in content, so please.
Yay. May I ask
yeah,
a question?
please.
How did you get the seed money to start all this? And do you have intent to advertise anybody to help with the income?
Yes, we will be advertising or providing, don't know the proper word that we'll use yet, but we do want state nationals who have businesses to be able to offer those businesses to the other, or to the community, not just to state nationals. We do have some interest from people to put businesses in there, but from people who are not reconveyed. And we're just sort of toying with how does that impact our jurisdictional concerns? Because this is not we're not registered, we're not authorised, we're not approved. We just have gone ahead and do it. It's not a business. We'll never pay tax for anything that we've done on here. And if we start advertising commercial businesses and they're paying for that advertising, obviously we're crossing jurisdictions. So, but for reconveyed state nationals, yeah, absolutely, we're pushing to try and get some of that. But again, it's about keeping the costs down. So we're being as fair and reasonable as we possibly can with all the advertising costs.
Because 22,000 a month is a serious bill to to come up with every month. So how did you go about getting the seed money? Did everybody just donate towards it?
No, for this one, we've actually had the money pretty much loaned to us.
Nice.
There's no end date on when it's got to be paid back by, but yeah, we still have to give that money back for the original, well, now really for the original 2 versions. And we've got to get much better at getting the money in. We've been let down at the moment, so we're probably going to have to change our distribution strategy a little bit now that it's got some acceptance out there.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was, we were lucky to have a state national that had some cash sitting in the bank and was prepared to utilise that to get this started. They saw the value. With the pet tour, so the Judge Anna's books, again, that was up around the $20,000, and that was done through donations from our members.
It's fabulous. I just want to say thank you for your effort, and man, I know that's encouraging. I was encouraged with where Luis was coming from, and I'm
Yeah.
really encouraged from this on top of all that is being done in the outreach, the international outreach. Just a beautiful job. God bless you, brother. Appreciate you.
It's amazing being linked in and seeing what's going on around the rest of the earth. And I mean, being able to share that kind of thing is wonderful, but we're certainly learning an awful lot too from you guys. So thank you so much.
I'll be contacting you because I definitely want to purchase both of those. So thanks again. Appreciate you. I'm Kalena on El Paso, Colorado. Yeah.
Beautiful, Kalena. Thank you.
Blessings.
Yeah,
I
I would
yield.
say, Darren, that's a beautiful editorial, a beautiful newspaper. Thank you for sharing it. And I agree with Kalena. It's really so inspiring to come together once a month with so many talented and creative people that are getting this message out. And each and every one of us gets to learn from each other. And that's the purpose of this meeting, is to be able to share our resources. And we're actually sharing it across other countries now. And so, you know, that's a beautiful thing as well. And so thank you to everybody that that contributed. You know, Luis, I'm looking forward to seeing this project move forward. I'm excited about that. And Kalena, you still have your hand up. Do you have another question? I didn't want to ignore anybody, or was your hand up from previously?
It was up from previously, but I did we did finish and we evaluated after it. I'll be happy to send Tammy and Louise, you guys, a clip. We did finish from way back in the day. What was it? July. We began to film and get people, but duly noted, the sound wasn't to my expectation, because you know I have done like broadcast quality stuff. So I was borrowing equipment, borrowing lighting, borrowing everything. But Timothy, the wonderful illustration and graphic artist that I work with, he works for a very national, international, big, huge firm in Denver, advertising firm. So his quality is really good. So now I've also put in for a loan, brother, for to buy some equipment so we can get our you know, blog, everything, and then kind of tie in back with you, Tammy, on that. But one other thing that our assembly is doing that I like very much to grow the assembly is we're reading Anna's How to Build an Assembly, and providing copies. Each and every time we'll read a chapter, and then that way we keep informing, even though, you know, we encourage people to read at least an hour a day, but that doesn't seem to be happening. So we have to kind of squeeze it in. So that's what else that we're doing. So I yield.
Awesome, Kalena. Thank you for sharing. And Darren, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Tammy. I just wanted to say, so I mentioned by standing our National Assembly, we're breaking down, we're getting rid of the borders. And by us being on here today, we're getting rid of the borders. And these are imaginary lines on a piece of paper. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful. It's you know, we're all a part of history in the making right now. So and today, unlike, you know, for us on America, you know, unlike our founding fathers, where we only have written books and things of that nature, but we have recordings for our time period. So you know, it's a beautiful thing to watch all this happen. Unless anybody has anything else they'd like to share or have any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and end our meeting. I do want to say that I will send this recording out probably in the next couple of days with some notes or an AI summary, because AI has been really great at doing that and saving me some time. And if there was anything that we needed to include, Luis, I'll include the documents that you had, as attachments. But mark your calendars. Our next meeting is going to be Wednesday, March 12th, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Okay, everybody? All right. Thank you all for coming, and please have a beautiful month, and grow your assemblies and get out there and outreach and educate. All right. We'll see you next month.
Thank
everybody.
you, Tammy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Tammy.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Tammy.
y'all.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
You're
Good night,
welcome.
everyone.
Everybody.